Fucking hell, I'm going to be a bit rusty. Pickups video, Kel Surprise. Strap in, kids, because I've got a shit ton of stuff to get through, and just a big pile of stuff, and I've got a decent list of stuff I wanted to talk about, but this is probably going to be a long one. I don't know. Probably will be, actually. Yeah, I've been holding off doing this because I've still not spent my CEX credit. I've got loads, and I've got stuff here which will add to it. So I'll have even more. I've probably got a good. Oh fuck! I just realised there's something over there. I've got bollocks. So I'm gonna have to. You see there, look, that thing. Oh, wrong shoulder. That thing there. Below the next to the camera, between the camera and the thing. That. Fucking hell, that glowy thing going on again. That is will be glued off. Totally forgot it. It's not even. It should be in my pile, but it's not. Yeah. I've just struggled to spend my CX credit. I wanted to make the video when I'd used it, but it's been. I've had it since before Christmas, and around about Christmas time, there's stuff that I probably should have spent it on, but didn't, and then that's all gone. And then ever since Christmas, people have been spending all their Christmas money on stuff from Computer Exchange, because I'm talking about PS1 games here. Around Christmas time, it was around about the 500 mark in the whole of the UK, and now it sort of went down below 400, and now it's back around about the 400 mark. So, there's a lot less choice. So, and I've just been struggling. I've been looking at Saturns. I was thinking, should I get a Saturn? I'll get a Saturn. I could get a Saturn with some like Shining Force 3, and I could probably get a Saturn plus a boxed copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga. Yeah. So yeah, it's a pickups video. It's probably gonna take a long time. Shit ton of videos though. Films, more films than anything else. Not so many games. Although I had a little. So I'm hearing people talking outside. I had a little burst recently, just to pad it out a bit. But if I have to take a little detour, edit. If there's a little edit, it's because it's some arsehole parked halfway across my drive like that. So I couldn't. There's a car. If I wanted to get a car in and out, I couldn't do it. So I've been doing a bit of curtain twitching. So if there's an edit any time sort of during this video, it might be because I've had to go outside and fuck someone up. Yeah. I'd like to take. I could take my GoPro with me, so you could experience me getting the shit kicked out. That would be quite funny, wouldn't it? Okay. Oi! Move your car, dush. Yeah. So that'll be something new for pickups video. Live arse kickings. So yeah. I've actually I've got so much stuff. I'm reluctant to look. That's a list, by the way. I should explain what it is. It's probably stuff that I could probably get rid of. But no, it's all really vital. Now I'm looking back at it, it's all probably vital stuff that will really enrich your lives. eBay sellers. Yeah, I'm just going to dive straight in. Having said that, eBay sellers with high prices. I noticed someone who was selling something that popped up on one of my safe searches. This ridiculously priced PS1 game. I thought, what the fuck? And I checked out what their other prices were like, and they were just as bad. But somehow these arseholes still make sales. And it was just bamboozled me. How the fuck do they do it? I was thinking, got me really suspicious. I think there's some shenanigans going on. They're probably buying their own stuff to make themselves look good. You do that? Because they were there's crazy prices being spent. Crazy money. And just really sort of run of the mill stuff. But anyway, that was that. wasn't very interesting. I've started getting YouTube sub notifications again, which is really strange. I've not had them in years, and I sort of got out of the habit. I always, whenever I got one, I would thank someone for the sub, because and I've got out of the habit of it. And now I've in the last week or so I've had about 5, which is good for me. Generally, my subs go down. I think there's a very real risk, but a very real say risk. Fuck it. That I'm below 1,000 now. I was hovering round about. I think I got about as high as 1,023. Then it just went like that, and it might have sort of poked its head up sort of beyond the threshold now. I don't know, but I got out of a habit of thanking people for their subs, and now I've got sub notifications again, and I'm feeling the need to thank people. I'm sort of, I don't know, I'm out of the habit, and I feel slightly uncomfortable, as if I'm going to have to actually communicate with people again, because I'm not used to. I'm not used to communicating with people, but it's weird. What else? Actually, a little thing I sort of in connection with that thing that happened before Christmas when I had my bank account ripped off. My old email account was also a bit iffy, because I think I don't know if I mentioned that I'd noticed that people had been trying to hack it. I looked on the account activity, and it showed that someone kept trying to sync my email account with apps, and apparently it's happening all around the world. I'm guessing it was just one person, and they'd been trying to gain access to my email account, and it was an old one, and I thought it's around about time I probably closed it down. And it's just this thing that happened after Christmas, just basically just before Christmas, sort of thought, oh fuck it, I might as well. So ultimately, I've closed that down. I've forgotten what finally tipped me over the edge, but it is. But if I've given anyone that email address, I apologise if you try to send me an email and it says this email address doesn't exist. But if you do need to get in contact, just say that, say so, and I'll give you my new email address. So that's that. One of these games I've got here will essentially complete my PS2 list. There are a few other things on it which I could sort of I could go with, but I think I'm pretty happy that generally everything left is I could take or leave. So as it is, that game I'm going to leave right to the end. As it is, I could potentially call it a day as far as PS2 collecting goes, and then at that point I could go ahead and do a collection video or collection series of videos. I might do what I did with my PS1 games. I really want to sort of build up the motivation again, because I can't deny it. It's sort of on the wane. Probably because of a matter of things, sort of a whole manner of things. But I think it's partly because of the way YouTube sort of moved away from the social media thing, because that's why I started really. Now it's got a bit of a different tone. But now I've started getting sub notifications again. It's sort of like tweaked my motivations. But this is really, really unprofessional. Not unprofessional, but bad form. Reading my list. Said that. Finish episode, but it said that about close my old email account. Yeah, that in connection with that. Did I mention that when I had my email account my bank account ripped off, and they reimbursed me. They still haven't taken that back, by the way. I've still got £150 worth of the bank's money. How long can it be in my account before it's legally mine? I think they've forgotten about me. I would not want them to forget about me, then remember about me like a couple of years down the line, and then sort of take 150 quid out my account. If they did that, it'd be at the exact point when I'd sort of spent sort of big on something, and sort of my account was sort of a bit on the sort of the low side, and then that would put me over into the red. That's exactly when they would do it, isn't it? But as far as most of my pickups. Let's crack on. A few things films I can't show you because I don't actually have them physically. I bought some bought. Weird. It's weird saying bought for digital stuff. Some films on that Amazon. No, it wasn't Amazon. I think it's sort of like an internet-wide sort of film movie madness week or something like that. I know Ashton's advertised it, but I'd already seen up to that point. I'd already noticed it before Ashton's mentioned it. Some dirt cheap films, sort of good quality stuff. What did I get? I got they had Idiocracy for 99p. I had the DVD of that, but Idiocracy is not available on Blu-ray, so I thought, and I ended up giving my DVD copy to my mate. What have I watched? I also got Deadpool 2. I think it's called this special cut. It's some sort of weird special cut, but weirdly, that was only $2.99. Idiocracy was 99p. That's really distracting me, by the way. I can see it in my peripheries, but I can also see it there, and it's like. But anyway, Deadpool 2. It's not theatrical cut. It's the other one with the additional stuff. But weirdly, you pay for that, you get the theatrical cut as well. And to watch the super duper cut, I think that's what it's called. You have to fast forward to about 2.5 hours into it. It's about 5 hours long, and you fast forward into 2.5 hours, and then that's when the beginning of the super duper cut. So they're sort of stacked. It's weird. Mandy. I bought that. That was only $2.99. That's nuts. Good, very good. Don't often like Nicolas Cage, but this sort of it suits him down to a T. I might have to turn it off. I'm really going to watch it. Mandy. Bit of a revenge flick. Crazy. Recommend it. I can imagine people wouldn't like it. Might get a bit. What the fuck is this? But no, I enjoyed it. I love this the sort of the axy fashions. It's like a Klingon batleth. Is it a batleth? Yeah. Sort of just melts some steel or whatever it is, and just pours it into a mould, and then sort of sharpens the spikes. And the only one I haven't seen yet is Blade Runner something 2049. Yeah. So I haven't actually sat down and watched that one, but I've seen the other three. I generally wouldn't spend much more than that on downloadable stuff because it's strange. Anything downloadable like games and stuff, I've only ever paid bottom dollar for, because as soon as you buy something like that, it has no monetary value, does it? I mean, you buy a car, you wouldn't buy a car that you wouldn't sell on, would you? And I find it strange that sort of something doesn't have any monetary value like that. It's literally that's it. Although that in itself, you can't get rid of it if you wanted to. You have to just close your account or something, stop using the internet, or you'd have to, if you downloaded something, you'd have to sort of sell on the PS3 or something with it on. And it made me think that'd be a really good idea. It's a really good idea for some sort of modern horror film about a cursed, sort of like a spin-off from Ring, like a cursed downloadable film that you can't get rid of. Imagine, that'd be quite a good one, wouldn't it? It's my idea, that. Copyright me. So don't anyone take it. If I ever make a movie of my YouTube, like they do now, that's a thing, isn't it? That all these big shots do. Like Ashton's is on his second, and all the Game Chasers. I bet they're all shites. I know. I think I read a review of the Ashton's one, and it got absolutely slated. But yeah, but that's what the plot. That's what the plot of mine would be. It'd be about a cursed downloadable game that you can't get rid of, and it'd be about me trying to get rid of it before I die. Yeah. It's not a bad idea actually. It fits. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I bought some digital films. Going to get onto the actual meat and potatoes. This is my mind for meat and potatoes. I've got a pile here. I've got two piles. Here games. Here games. Here films. So right. Yeah. Fucking hell. This wind. That's also distracting me. And if you've watched my videos for a long time, you'll know I'm easily distracted. Right, films, yeah. There's a bit of a thing nowadays. Not a massive community. It's a little community that's sort of built up. At least, I don't know how long it's been going on, but it seems to sort of be relatively new. I might have just been been doing other stuff and not noticed it. But it's film collecting stuff. I don't think it's quite as big as game collecting is. It seems to be a slightly different crowd, but there's a little offshoot of that. It's people who get really enthusiastic about Poundland and their Blu-rays. I can't deny it. I've been in Poundland and bought some Poundland and bought some Blu-rays, and there's a little community of people who all make Poundland pickup videos and Blu-ray pickup videos, and they get really enthusiastic. And I can't deny it. It makes me feel nostalgic for how game collecting community used to be. Shit, going a bit all radioactive. Fuck off. There's a sweet spot. I have to stay in it. But anyway, yeah, and that's the people in these who make these videos are how games collectors used to be, or the ones that I used to watch used to be, and it made me feel slightly nostalgic. Well, there's a certain amount of naivety because they will get really enthusiastic, but the vast majority of the stuff that you get in Poundland is not worth much more than that they charge for it. Although Poundland should, in all honesty, change their name because they're not always a pound, are they anymore? So they should change they should have a brackets before Poundland, and it should be not always a Poundland. There you go. So, right, two things I bought from there. First one, it's a film called Touch of Sin. I don't know too much about this, but it was an Arrow video. That's part of the reason I picked it. Arrow video. I thought it might have been sort of a worthwhile, but you can get a load of these Arrow video releases in Poundland and see, look, £2. So £2. You get a lot of these Arrow releases in Poundland. Generally, they're sort of the slightly cheaper run than the other ones. You get the ones with the sort of the colourful logo. But Touch of Sin, yeah, apparently it's supposed to be really good. It's a series of stories about how people in modern China have been dicked over by the system and they go a bit mental and sort of violence ensues, and it's supposed to be really crazy. They basically go a bit. It sort of sounds a bit like Falling Down. They get fucked over by the man. Like people being, like. You know what you hear in places like China. Did you ever see that guy who refused to move out of his house, and they sort of the authorities sort of dug out the land around his house. So essentially, his house was just perching on top of a column of mud, and then there was this big open pit around him. So if you wanted to come and go from his house, you had to come out of his front door and clamber down this sort of however many, like 20 feet high column of mud. But yeah, I'm guessing it's people like that. Probably, I don't know if they're based on true stories, but it's supposed to be really good. So like, there's a man with a shotgun, and it's meant to be sort of slightly Tarantino-esque, which is interesting because apparently the guy who made this is a bit more like thoughtful, and a lot of his films are quite calm and laid back and more like poetic. But this is a change of tone. And another Poundland one. This is one I've not seen. It's X-Men Apocalypse. It's apart from Logan, the only X-Men film I've not seen. I really liked Days of Future Past. I thought that was really good. And yeah, apparently, then that says, because it says new, they're not always new. They're all £2, but this is a new one. So I didn't know that. So that's what I learnt from the people who make Poundland Blu-ray pickups videos. That, you know, sometimes it says new, sometimes it says refurbished. So, you know, you learn something every day, don't you? And also, I didn't know that they have boxes on top of the shelves that you're allowed to sort of just take down and have a look in. You know, that was a nice little sort of a revelation. But the first time I did it, I did my back in. It's a young man's game, I've realised. Yeah, it's X-Men Apocalypse. I do like the X-Men films. Actually, I didn't like... What was the third original one? That was a bit shitty. Didn't like that. The other ones have been pretty good. But yeah, X-Men Apocalypse. An upgrade on a DVD. And a film I've not actually seen. I had the DVD. It's called Take Shelter. It's about a dad who is a bit paranoid that the apocalypse is coming. So he starts taking steps to protect his family for the coming storm, so to speak. Yeah, and he gets treated as a lunatic because he appears to be a bit mental. It's supposed to be good. I've forgotten who. The guy's done other stuff. It's a guy called Jeff Nichols. I think he's gone on to do some really interesting stuff, like quite big, like bigger Hollywood films. But this is just an upgrade. Like I said, I had the DVD. Right, 2 classics. This is another thing actually I want to say. This was on my list. A little point I wanted to make about how I've got a lot of these DVDs, and people talk about Blu-rays and 4K and how it's like. Blu-ray, I think Blu-ray is probably already seen as a slightly out-of-date medium. Obviously because it's been blown out the walls with 4K, and we're talking about 8K. It's getting a bit nuts. But as far as I can see, DVDs still aren't a dead format. You go into supermarkets, look at the shelves in supermarkets, and I think people who stock supermarkets aren't stupid. You look at the amount of Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays on supermarket shelves in comparison to DVDs, and there is no comparison because the vast majority of shelves in supermarkets are all DVDs, so people are still buying them, and it seems like we're giving all this sort of brand new shiny stuff, and they're struggling to sell it. They're struggling to make it look like worthwhile because to watch a Blu-ray DVD. I mean, you have to get a whole new telly and a Blu-ray and a 4K Blu-ray. You have to get a whole new telly. So that could set you back like sort of £1,500 just to watch one film, and maybe that's why it's not. Maybe I'm not quite taken off in that way, but it's just something I noticed, which means that DVDs are still a totally viable format. And like that telly there. I've got a film that in this pile I watched last night, and it looks perfectly fine. It's probably not the sort of film that it probably should be seen in a better quality image, but it looked pretty good on that telly. It was just a normal bog standard DVD. I could upscale it because if I had a spare HDMI cable, but I've noticed the colours are a bit funny if you upscale it using that. They're a bit like off. So I just prefer to watch the DVDs. Or if I was going to watch a Blu-ray, yeah, that obviously my DVD player doesn't play Blu-rays, does it? Stupid. So yeah, I mean, like, did you hear the door go then? That door there. That's what happened last time. I remember that one of my most recent pickups videos, I got disturbed. I actually want to go and see if that person's still at the front. I think they're probably going to. I don't think they're there. It's not just sort of a flying visit. That person's been there probably about an hour. But disgusting. That's one of my bugbears. That is people bad parking. But anyway. Yeah, so DVDs. I've got a couple of good ones. That's the thing to look out for in charity shops. That's the thing. As far as charity shops are concerned, you'd think that DVDs are a dying format 'cause there's so many of them. But but so they sell them off really cheaply. But there's still people buying new ones, and some DVDs are worth decent money. Like a couple here, both from Cancer Research, both by a guy called Robert Bresson, French New Wave from the 1960s, The Pickpocket, and A Man Escaped. I can't remember. I've not seen either of these. I can't remember, but I like Robert Bresson. His most famous film is called I think it's Oh Hazard Balthazar, I think. Something like that. I can't remember. It's about an abused donkey. If that sounds like your cup of tea, yeah, it's about a donkey. It has a really hard life, and it's meant to be really sad, and it's sort of like it's a parable, I think, or even like a religious thing. You know, it's like as if the donkey was Jesus. I think something like that. I don't know, but yeah. See, like these are both really good for trading in, and like only cost me £1. I mean, a lot of places you get that for like 50p or less. A lot of charity shops sell DVDs for like 4 for £1 or something. So yeah, I could trade them. I'm not going to trade them in, but if I wanted to trade them in, that would get me some decent credit. So don't overlook DVDs. I've learned that recently, not to and I've taken more notice. A good film. Back to the Blu-rays. A good film. Bit of a I don't want to say hidden gem. I have, but it went under the radar. A film called Adam Wingard. A film called The Guest. It's what often gets referred to as is it a cuckoo in the nest film sort of narrative. You get this guy. Dan, what's his name? Dan Stevens. He's sort of an Iraq veteran who turns up at the house of the family of someone he said was his sort of comrade in the army, who had died in action, and he's not quite who he says he is, put it that way. But it's really good. It's sort of it seems to sort of ape the sort of 80s sort of action flicks, but it's a bit like a horror because it's slightly. It's not totally based in reality, if you know what I mean. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's something I really wanted to. It's dirt cheap as well because you can get it in CEX for about £1, I think. But it's give it a go. I think it's maybe underrated, but it's not a film. It's probably just went under the radar, called The Guest, and it clearly sort of tries to tap into people's nostalgia because it has sort of like the 80s sort of soundtrack and stuff like that, and it has that similar style. But yeah, really good. Give that a go. This one I have no idea. I've got a feeling this is going to be traded in, but it's something I couldn't really pass up just because of it's. There you go. It's an Arrow video release called Phantom of the Paradise by Brian De Palma. So that's it's an Arrow release, and they're never cheap, are they? So it's by Brian De Palma, so I'll give that a go. It's not one I'd heard of. I'm guessing it's one of his very first films. Brian De Palma of like Scarface fame and all manner of other really good films. But not really my cup of tea. I checked out a trailer afterwards. What are we at now? Half an hour. Shit. I checked out a trailer afterwards, having bought it. It was only 99p. So for an Arrow Blu-ray release, it's a bit of a no-brainer, even if I didn't know what it was. And it's sort of like, it looks like Rocky Horror does it's a musical, a really proper full-on musical, camp musical, like Rocky Horror. But it's like Rocky Horror does Phantom of the Opera. But it's more sort of like Phantom of the Rock Opera House. Phantom of the Rock Opera Theatre. So it's probably worth. No, it will be worth like at least one watch, but generally it's not not my cup of tea, and I think the credit might override my desire to actually sit down and watch it. But as I said, I wasn't going to pass it up for. It was not on its own, but yeah, might give it a go. But I've got so many other things to watch that that it might not ever get watched, and I might end up cutting my losses and just like I said, trading it in for the credit, because as I said, I've sort of built up. That's one of the things that I've built up, probably on top of the £300 or so credit I've got. I've probably got another 80, maybe £100 worth on top of that. So, and I can't spend it. I want to get good stuff. I don't just want to spend it on little things. I want to get some decent stuff. But this one is slightly overpaid for. It was £2. A film called The Act of Killing. Again, a DVD. Act of Killing. I'd heard amazing things about this. The actual premise is nuts. It's sort of like a documentary, but it's based on, I think it's the Philippines. No, Indonesia. Sorry. 1965. There was a coup. Yeah, the government in Indonesia was overthrown by the military in 1965. Should I just read the back? Yeah. When the government of Indonesia was overthrown by the military in 1965, more than 1 million people were killed in less than a year. Anwar and his friends were promoted from ticket scalpers to death squad leaders, and Anwar killed hundreds of people with his own hands. In the act of killing, Anwar and his friends agreed to tell us the story of the killings, but their idea of being in a movie is not to provide testimony for a documentary. They want to be stars in their favourite film genres: gangster, western, musical. They write the scripts, they play themselves, and they play their victims. The act of killing is a nightmarish vision, a journey into the memories and imaginations of the unrepentant perpetrators and the shockingly banal regime of corruption and impunity they inhabit. So basically, they get the actual people, the members of these death squads, to reenact their deeds and reenact sort of the roles of the victims as well. So it's meant to be pretty nuts. And probably not one that I'll sit down and watch multiple times, but it's definitely one that's sort of worthy of one go. But it's I can imagine it's tricky to watch, just purely because of what will be on screen and what you it meant, how the reality of the situation. Slight change in tone here. I don't know why I put it in this order, but it's slightly jarring. My Neighbour Totoro. Bit of a no-brainer, because I love Studio Ghibli and I haven't got My Neighbour Totoro. And again, this might be one to trade in. Probably not, but I would like the Blu-ray, at least the Blu-ray or the 2-disc version, if there is one. But yeah, if you've not seen this, it's a nice little heart warmer. It's gentle. And it has that sort of crazy level of imagination that other Studio Ghibli Miyazaki films have. And I've still got fuckloads. How much was this? This was 49p. One of the best films ever made. Kroll. Yeah, it's one of those films. It's like I loved as a kid, and you watch it back. So many films I've seen as a kid, I thought, this is shite. When I've watched it back, what was I thinking? But no, this one really holds up. What a cast! And I watched one of these films I've got here, and it's got a little reference to this film in it. But yeah, it's such an underrated film. It's so well acted, and the story's great, and it's got some really interesting characters. But yeah, and you can't get this on Blu-ray. Well, you can, but it's sort of some crazy expensive Blu-ray, because apparently Blu-ray was an HMV exclusive that was printed in the wrong aspect ratio, and so then they took it out of circulation, but not before a certain amount had been sold. So so now it's become a bit of a collector's item, even though the actual film itself isn't really watchable because it's all distorted. But yeah, And I think you can get it into the X about £20. It's actually quite a good price because I've looked on eBay and some of them have gone for crazy amounts. But Krull. The only downside thing I don't like it is the fact that they chose to dub, because the actress who played the heroine, or the love interest, the princess, so to speak, is English, and they dubbed her voice with an American actress, which is a bit annoying. One that doesn't need explaining. Two Towers, Lord of the Rings Two Towers. It's the extended edition, Blu-ray. This is an upgrade. Slight annoying thing about this. This used to be quite an expensive, sort of about £10 for an old Blu-ray. Sort of tenner. It's quite expensive. And I saw it come down to £5. I thought, oh, I love that. And then about a couple of days later, I went into Poundland and saw a brand new one, sort of sealed with the sort of the Blu-ray pull strip, for £2. She said, "Oh, yeah," but that's uncanny how it happens, isn't it? But yeah, so yeah, I think Fellowship of the Ring is just peanuts. You can probably get one any day of the week for £1.50 or something like that. This is about the money for £5, maybe around about that. It used to be near a tenner. I think Return of the King's probably around about a tenner, but that's still relatively expensive if you wanted to, get Blu-ray versions of all 3 old films, But yeah, and then there's you get like box sets of the whole extended box sets of all 6 sort of Middle Earth films. But I'll try this one. Another DVD. This one I've been wanting to get for a long time. I saw this in the cinema. My mum used to work in the Barbican in London, or in the sort of for the authority there, and so she got me tickets to go and see this at the Barbican cinema because it was on. And because it wasn't on anywhere else, because it's one of these films that it doesn't have a proper release, and it's called George Washington. It's by a guy called David Gordon Green, who's gone on from this to make Pineapple Express and Your Highness and stuff like that. But this is just tonally totally different. It's more sort of Terrence Malick, it's sort of poetic, more sort of thoughtful, wistful. It's that sort of, if you know who Terrence Malick is, who made. What's his most famous film? Days of Heaven is my favourite. Probably Badlands might be his most famous film. But yeah, that's sort of that style, and I remember this is David Gordon Green's. I think it's maybe his debut. Maybe he might have done another one before this, but this sort of showed him as a bit of a one to keep an eye on. But then he's gone on to do this, but also all this sort of really. Quite not standard, some good stuff, but like more Hollywood style films, what you'd expect. And I think he's one of these people. You get a lot of them nowadays who they do one for themselves and one for Hollywood. And like I think he's definitely one of those. And this was probably more his own sort of taste. This is when he's as an auteur, as in sort of like he has full creative license, whereas in the Hollywood stuff, he probably didn't. But yeah, so that was in a 149 at a shot, which is good. This one is another. That's the thing. I've done really well as far as films. Some stuff that I'd been keeping my eye out for a long time, and some other stuff which were just straight up bargains. Werner Herzog, the Werner Herzog collection. There's 2 boxes. There's a Werner Herzog collection, and there's a Werner Herzog Klaus Kinski collection. Because he did a whole load of films with Klaus Kinski, who's a German actor. Who would you know he'd been in? I can't remember, but but anyway, he's not in any of these. But I've Werner Herzog. He's another one actually. To be honest, he's made things like he made Grizzly Man. He made a film. He made the sort of not a remake as such of Bad Lieutenant with Nicolas Cage. Again, some quite sort of accessible Hollywood stuff, but again with his own style, like imprint. but this is how he started out. Some quite different stuff. The only one I've seen is the Enigma of Caspar Hauser, which is it's about this. It's sort of in the late 19th century, I think, or late 18th century, or just sort of, no, yeah, late 19th century, and it's about this kid who is essentially brought up. He's reared in his childhood, and essentially his young adulthood is basically his dad keeps him in like a cellar, and and for whatever reason, I can't remember why. His dad's probably just nuts, and so he was sort of kept away from sort of. He was just essentially sort of reared in this cellar, like they do. There's sort of stories about those girls in Ukraine who essentially just sort of kept in a shed for all of their lives until they were let out and rescued, and then they just sort of went off and ran wild into the world, because this is a whole new sort of wow. Essentially, that's what Enigma of Caspar Hauser is. But in this film, it's essentially he's let out into the world. This man who's essentially his dad lets him out into the world, and he's seen by the people, or the bourgeoisie, as they say. He's seen as a bit of a freak, and they almost like put him on display. And people come and spit on the screen. They don't spit on the screen. People come and sort of look at him as if it's like a sort of freak show. But then he learns to speak, but he's not got that same sort of I can't explain. No, I can explain. I know exactly what I was saying. It's not coming to me. He doesn't have that. He's very honest. His manner is honest, because he's sort of lived all his life in this extreme way, and once he's learnt to speak, he doesn't have those same sort of oh fuck it, I don't know. You know what I mean? He says it how it is, and he undermines, he sort of subverts all the bourgeois attitudes of all the people around him, or they need to act a certain way and things like this, and he has none of that, and it basically sort of shines a light on them rather than him, their attitudes and their needs to be something different, not what they are, to put across a certain image, whereas he's just this sort of raw. Sort of natural presence. That's quite a good explanation, I think. Of the other films, I've not seen any of them, but I was going to say Heart of Darkness. This is quite Heart of Glass, but I've not seen any of the others. But yeah, Werner Herzog, funny bloke. There's a documentary of him who he's been interviewed up in Hollywood Hills, and someone shoots him in the leg with an air rifle. You don't hear it. You don't hear a bang. You just hear a little puff of dust. He's going, oh, someone's shot me in the leg. He just casually goes, someone shot me in the leg, and he's got this little hole in because he's wearing shorts. He's got this little hole in his leg. Nuts. Yeah, this is the film that has the reference to Krull in it. They use the glaive. Is it the glaive? Glaive? Yeah, the little spiky knife thing, the boomerang. Yeah, I didn't mind it. It was all right, a bit gentle. It had a sort of feeling of those sort of classic Hollywood 80s adventure fantasy sort of sci-fi films. It had a bit of that about it, but obviously with a lot more control and less naivety. But it's a bit more, self-referential. And I think half the appeal is basically getting all the references. It's quite a basic story, isn't it? I did enjoy it though. I did enjoy it. It was not the one I feel the need to watch again anytime soon. But it was only 50p, and I knew I could watch it and trade it in for £2. Bingo. This one, no brainer. I don't know why this is in a charity shop, but it was. I don't know why anyone would buy this and go, no, don't want that, and trade it in. Maybe someone bought it. Maybe someone's kid bought it, and when they shouldn't have done, and mum and dad put their foot down and go, no, you naughty child, no, we're going to just give it to the charity shop. And maybe they nicked it. I don't know. But yeah, why would you buy a 4K Blu-ray of Thor Ragnarok from 2018? Is it 2018? Yeah, sure it is. Yeah, put it in a charity shop. I can't watch this. can't watch it. I haven't got, as I said, I haven't got a 4K telly or a 4K Blu-ray player. So that's just nuts. But it is one I want to see because again, Taika Waititi, he made this. He's another one. He's gone from making really, really excellent stuff in like Boy, Hunt for the Wilder People, What We Do in the Shadows, Eagle versus Shark, yeah. And I think he was sort of in responsible for a lot of Flight of the Conchords, and he's just taken that and put his stamp on sort of the Marvel universe, which I really, really want to see. But obviously, I can't watch this version, so I'll probably just take the wrapper off and trade it in. £2, but it'd get me 12. Credit. Yeah, this one. I don't really want to say too much about it because it'll probably piss people off. Because suffice to say, my attitude towards this film is the polar opposite from a lot of people's attitudes towards this film, which I think is I think the stuff surrounding this film says more about the audience itself than the film. It's a political thing. It's politics. Because it's objectively a very good, very well made film. But everything surrounding this would suggest otherwise. But, I mean, it clearly, it has sort of minor flaws, but then what film doesn't? I mean, there's barely a film made in history you could say is absolutely flawless. And this has the odd one or two minor things, but we get out. Anyway, I bought this in CEX, £6. I bought it cash because I wanted to watch it, and I'd not seen it since cinema. I'd seen it once. It's the only one of the most recent, apart from Solo, that I've not seen twice, most recent Star Wars films. And it is a very good, very well made film. It's objectively very good, very well made film. And the bullshit surrounding this film says more about the audience. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to piss people off, and I'm probably already have pissed people off just by saying that. But everything this film does essentially is basically a continuation of the sets of rules that the Star Wars universe has already set out. I've heard criticisms of this film, and I don't see how they're at all relevant because the thing with Leia, for instance, and it's the thing about Leia is people call it Mary Poppins, or as sort of if you're considering the skills that Jedi are meant to have, or people who are strong in the Force, then it's just basic physics. If you can pull something, you can push it. You can pull yourself towards it, or you can push yourself away from it. And I just see that, and it's just Leia's sort of latent force powers. I've heard criticisms of the sequence at the beginning where they drop bombs, and someone says this whole, how can they be dropping bombs in sort of zero gravity? Well, no one complained when they had TIE bombers dropping bombs on the big rock in everybody's favourite, The Empire Strikes Back. That wasn't an issue then. But I've not actually sat down and watched them because I never would, but I've seen references to videos where they've tried to look into the film and used that one reference as a sort of a reason to undermine the whole film. Whereas it doesn't suggest that somebody has watched or really taken note of other Star Wars films. If your criticism is based on the fact that, oh look, how can they be dropping bombs? Zero gravity just doesn't work. And I don't want to say too much about the how the Rose Tico character. But again, there's always a criticism, but people will try and justify it.
and maybe not necessarily as honest as they should be, because that makes them look bad. Oh, well, you know. And also, what else? I don't know, to be honest. Suffice to say, I liked it, and I think, I mean, it's the same sort of bullshit as what was it? Captain Marvel. I don't have to explain it, do I? Other things, you know, it's just a good film. It's not a badly made film. You can compare it to the three prequels, and they're just, this is light years ahead. But anyway, I'll probably have pissed people off. I just that was what I wanted to say about. I've heard people talk about this film in reference to videos they've watched. People have made videos basically breaking this film down, and it happens with other films. And I would suggest not watching those films, because if you feel the need to watch those films, then maybe you're not 100% confident in your own opinions. Why, you know, do you really need to watch these films in order to confirm what you actually believe? But if you genuinely believe them, maybe you would already, you know, you would already be able to express your feelings, you know, yourself, without having to rely on someone else's critique. It should already be immediately, or you know, you should already know the problems that you have with the film. You know, don't say I've watched this film. Oh, you should go and watch this film. Go and watch this video because someone breaks it down perfectly, and they've got it exactly spot on. Well, if that's the case, maybe you should have already known that. You shouldn't have to watch somebody else's video just to tell you what you say you already know, or to tell you exactly how to. Essentially, they're telling you how to think, aren't they? You know, I've seen in the Game Chasers. The Game Chasers referenced a video someone had made, basically sort of pulling this film apart. And I think, why do you need to watch somebody else's video to tell you, you know, to tell you what you think of a film? Basically to tell you that your opinion's okay, or maybe you're not being 100% honest. Oh well. It's just a modern phenomenon. It's not a good thing, in my opinion. It happens often, and it's not a good thing. And it's something we should take a good look at ourselves about. You know, I read something about Stephen King, and a lot of people like Stephen King. And what I read about him is the fact that his online presence is essentially quite a positive thing. He doesn't go online and on Twitter and talk about things that he dislikes. He uses his Twitter account. Although I don't follow him. This might be bullshit, but what I read about him was he said he seems to be a decent bloke because he talks about things that he's enjoyed and inspire him, things like this. He doesn't go online and use Twitter just to break things down and just to send out hate. So ultimately, it's film. Why are people getting so angry? That makes me angry that people get angry. Anyway, I don't want to make people angry, but I might have done. Anyway, this is a nice film. Let's move on. This is a nice film. Devil and Daniel Johnson. I would implore people to track this down. This is quite a difficult film to find. This took me a while to get. I mean, it's relatively collectible. It's cost you £8 in CX, but it's about this guy called Daniel Johnson who I think I've only ever seen bits of the film. I think he's a manic depressive, but he's autistic. I don't know, to be honest, what his whole condition is, but he has multiple conditions, and he's not able to. He's not had a happy life, put it that way, but because of sort of his life, he's also got this incredible creative soul, and the need. He has a sort of incredible need to be creative and to to write songs. That's the thing. He's mainly known for is these songs, but he's also an artist, and he makes drawings like this. These sort of naive sort of childlike drawings, but that are also pretty inspired. And the film is about him and his sort of songwriting and his life. And there's, like, for instance, I think it was in the late 80s, or was it the late 80s, a lot of his songs are recordings. The only ones available are from the 80s, but I think he worked in McDonald's in Austin in Texas. And I think they could essentially only trust him to wipe and clear the tables, and even that he wasn't very good at, because he used to spend all his time giving his demo tapes to people like Kurt Cobain, who would be in McDonald's because Austin is this sort of creative hub, and it's stuff like that. But he's got all these demons, so to speak, and it all comes out in the music. And the music itself is quite, I think, probably quite basic. I'm not a musical expert. It feels maybe quite basic, but they're all really beautifully written, like ballads, a lot of them. But they're also really, really honest, because he has no filter. Everything he feels, he puts out into the music. And there's one called, probably his most accessible one. It's a later one called "Living Life in Vain" or "Life in Vain." There's one called "Worried Shoes." If you listen to "Worried Shoes," I think there was a cover of it on the "Where the Wild Things Are" film soundtrack by Karen O. And it's just such a sad film for anybody who's ever had like anxiety. They'd probably really be able to identify with it, because it uses this idea of, you put on your worried shoes and they don't let you forget your mistakes and things like that, and sort of every mistake you've ever made you just remember, and sort of you like tie a knot in your laces of your worried shoes because things like that. And it's just the songs are so sad, but they're like beautiful, and he's such an interesting character. And I thought he was dead. He's not. He's still alive. And there's live recordings of him from sort of like the early 2000s, and there's one in particular. He sung a song called "Life in Vain," and I think it's like an MTV thing. So it's like an in concert. I'm not sure, but he has this audience and this big band and this choir of kids, and he just he shuffles on. He's old guy. It's total antithesis of a rock star. He's an old guy. He's sort of a overweight, grey hair. He's got a shaking hand like this, and he's got like a stain on his t-shirt, and he trundles on, just bangs out this brilliant tune about how he lives his life in vain. It's just a really, really sad song. And then he goes, "Thank you," and then just walks off again, and that's it. He's gone. It's just amazing. He's just one of my favourite recording artists. I've not got any of his albums, but I really want to. And there's other things like the story of an artist. A lot of these they get used in adverts and things. You might recognise them. Like "Story of an Artist" is about how he has this need to write these songs and to make these drawings, but then people ask him, why are you doing all this? Why don't you go and get a job? Why you're weird? Why are you doing that? You're strange. But it's just amazing. Really, really sort of really interesting character. But I've not, as I said, I've not seen this one yet. But I'm getting a bit worked up. Anyway, shit, an hour and I've still not done the games. Let's whip straight into it. Two extension cables for the controllers for my SNES Mini. I would like an 8-bit DOE controller, but they're sort of £20, and I can't be asked to spend the money at the moment. I would one day get one. I probably will, but I might even get one from CEX. But they're not that expensive. But I mean, these were sort of £6 for two, and they do exactly the same job. They're just not as cool, essentially. So I couldn't really justify spending 4 times just. And I can have 2 of them, so I can have people round. We can have 2-player Mario Kart, and I've actually, ever since I've had these, I've been using my SNES Mini a lot more because I can sit on that sofa and I can use that telly. No, I don't have to sit in the middle of the room like a little kid, like legs crossed. Right. Fuck. Excuse me. Apologies for the language. Right. 2 goodbyes, I think. This is all game stuff. There's not a lot of it. There's about half the amount. Yeah. Was my last pickups video I think I was guessing it was Christmas Eve, wasn't it? Fuck, over an hour, bollocks. Yeah, that was essentially a pickups video anyway, wasn't it? Yeah. But, right. Not bought many games, but some. I had a little burst recently. They come in like little bursts here and there. But this one, 2 came together. 2 strategy guys. I'm not massively into strategy guys, but I think these were 2 I definitely wanted to have to get. This one was fucking heavy actually. Final Fantasy X, but as you can see, looks like someone's wiped their arse with it. It's disgusting. And I've had this for ages, at least a month, and I wanted to keep it dirty. I probably will clean it. I wanted to keep it grubby, just so I could show you how disgusting it was. And I don't really want to handle it. It's pretty rank. It'd probably wipe up, with a sort of a damp cloth. It'll sort of clean up quite nicely. It was only 2 quid. But yeah, Final Fantasy X. I've played a decent amount of this. I probably should get back to it again. I've got so many games I've played a good way into, like sort of hours and hours into, and just sort of stopped. But this one never quite grabbed me. But it's one that I will get back to, and I sort of enjoy. Yeah, I did enjoy. But yeah, one of the main problems with this is that someone looks like it's got a dirty Sanchez on the back, a dirty protest. But yeah, it's just pretty rank. So I've kept that in my house all the while, just for you arseholes, just so I could show you, give you a laugh, not a laugh, or whatever. And probably the better one for me, although is Final Fantasy X. This one's slightly cleaner, which is good. But Final Fantasy X, and they were only 2 quid each. So yeah, ooh. Right, actual games. Charity shops purchase. Again, this one might be the trade-in, but I might keep it. It's just I'm not a massive fan of these games. It's a Mario Party 8. This was only 99p, I think, or £1. Might have even been 50p. Don't know, but yeah, this is the sort of thing that my nieces might like, and we could all play it. I've not got anything quite like this, these sort of simple games. But I don't want to keep it around, because it'll get me some decent credit. Just waiting for them to come around and play it with me, because I've got no one else will come round. Actually, no. There's the odd one or two, but generally I'm a lone gunner. It's like just gonna have a little cry behind. Anyway, yeah, Mario Party 8 it was about 99p, I think. Yeah. Now this one will really keep. I don't necessarily know how good it is. I mean, I'm surprised it's actually as cheap. It's not an expensive game. It's $1.99, and it's Mario Power Tennis New Play Control. Something in my head it tells me it's just going to be like a jazzed up version of Wii Tennis. It can't be played any other way, can it? And I really like Wii Tennis. I still play it now. But yeah, it's not an expensive game. It surprises me. But yeah, that was only $1.99. So I can't remember where I got that from a charity shop sometime. I think I tweeted about it. A lot of this stuff, if it's any good, if they're games and some films, rather than I'll save them up to do a pickups video, but generally I will tweet about them. And this one I definitely did. This is a bit of a bargain. This was £2 actually. Yeah. Hit and Run, Simpson Hit and Run. I might not have bought it, even though it's definitely worth £2. But again, I could play it on my Wii, but it might be traded in because I've got this on the Xbox. But the main reason to get this was It's got a 251 slot memory card, official memory card. I've not tested it. I want to have a look at what's on it, because that's always interesting. I know I did that years ago, and now the Game Chasers, or was it Jay, whatever his name is ripping me off. I'm not saying he's ever seen my videos. We just had the same idea, but yeah. But now he started doing it, I feel the need to do another one. So, oi, you ripped me off. No, you didn't. But yeah, so together that would get me some. That was, like I said, it's only £2. If I was going to trade them in, that would get me some decent credit. I'm not sure I'm going to keep that. I might keep it, but weirdly, if you look on the Computer Exchange website, credit-wise, the 251 slot memory card official will get you £6 credit. I can't remember how much I think it's quite expensive to sell. They sell it for, but the one half the size is at the 130 something. Can't remember. Whatever. Will get you £8. It's half the size. What's that about? I might, go take it in there and go question it, see if they'll give me an extra few quid here and there. They probably won't, but they probably won't understand, But anyway, the smaller memory card will get you more credit. Official memory card, but yeah. So that was £2, not bad. These are the two most recent ones. One of them's a bit of not a boob as such, but I took a punt on it. This one isn't the one. That one, it was only £2. Battlefront, again, a duplicate, so will be traded in, but £2. That will get me some decent credits. This one, again, a no-brainer, but the disc is really jacked up, and I've tested it, and it don't work. I don't think you're ever not going to see that, are you? Oh, no, look, there you go, you can see it. Look at that, fucking hell. You can feel them, that's the thing. You can feel them, you run your finger over it, you can feel it. So I don't know whether they have the ability to take those sorts of scratches out. I could take them in and see if they're willing to give it a go, because I think often things like this, they're more willing to try and refurb, whereas other things, they won't bother, will they? They'll take this and refurb it, whereas other things, just like Modern Warfare, they're so snowed under that they won't take them, even if they're worth decent credit. They're these are more desirable for them, so to speak. So yeah, there's that. With those two, hang on, I can see my face. With those two was this, £4. This fucker. Yeah, this was. I might keep this one. I don't know, but it's. It was only £4, and it's the wireless. It's really nice nick. Special edition Buzz TV quiz, and this will get me £22 credit. Jesus. But so there you go. Yeah, and it's in all really really nice nick. But I want to try it. It's just at what point will I have 4 people who I know around who will sit down and be asked to play Buzz with me? Maybe Christmas sometime, but am I going to have to keep this around till sort of next Christmas? Don't know. But anyway, yeah. That was in the same little batch as the Mario Kart and the Battlefront 2. Yeah. 3 more. Fuck. Jesus. Right, this one. Again. Poundland. Not Poundland. This one ain't a pound. It's more than a pound. I'll show you. This is a funny one. It's not that funny. It's called X-Blaze Code Embryo. Although, weirdly, funnily, they've misspelt it on the spine. Embryo. But, yeah. I saw this and I thought, wow. It's brand new. See, it's got the little pull strip there across there. So that's brand new. I've never seen that before. I have no idea what sort of game it is. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, that's got to be a fighter. And it's got the Arc System. Its Arc System works. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Do they do like Guilty Gear and all of that? Do they? So I thought, £5 for a brand new PS3 game. I might have a go at that. I might have a punt. But on the back, there's absolutely nothing to tell you what sort of game it is. And I looked at it and I thought, I was suspicious, but I thought I might have a go. Might be worth it. And I'm thinking, there's nothing to suggest what sort of game that is. There's no blurb at all. It's just all the technical stuff, all the legal jargon. I thought, yeah, and yeah, get it home. It's only a fucking visual novel, isn't it? Visual novel. What a disappointment. Visual novel. What's the point of visual novels? Jesus. What games that you just press the odd button? Can you make decisions in visual novels to vary the storyline? I don't know. Getting dark, right. But anyway, so it's a bit of a disappointment, but you got to take the rough with the smooth, as they say. Well, some people say, not many. I've said that in the past. Right, last two. Jesus. This one, this is sort of like, makes me feel nostalgic for old school YouTube. I'm sure people still do it, but I don't tend to, I don't know. I used to get involved, but I don't know, I don't tend to communicate. I bought something in a charity shop, going back a good month or so ago now, and got really enthusiastic, but then got it home and realised I'd made a bit of a boob. I bought a Blu-ray. I thought it was an upgrade to my Blu-ray that I've got. It was a Blu-ray of Snowpiercer, and if anybody knows, Snowpiercer wasn't released in the UK. It had a very, very small cinema release. Blame Harvey Weinstein. It's another reason to blame Harvey Weinstein. He not only is just an absolute monster, he's also a bit of an arsehole. So, yeah, something else to blame Harvey Weinstein for. But yeah, and I got it. I realised this Blu-ray I'd got was actually an American version. I just didn't pay attention because it was sort of a 2-disc, slightly better version than the one that I've got, because I've got just the basic. It was an Australian import, the one I've got. For some reason, I just thought it was an Australian import or some other import, but no. And I thought, oh, fuck it, I can't use it. And I was going to either sell it on. I probably wouldn't sell it on because, not many people would buy it. Because, they might do. Or I was just going to put it in charity again. So I just mentioned it on Twitter, and Grant's Twitter handle, Joey Pineapples, the best ABC warrior. Anybody knows 2000 AD's ABC Warriors? Joe Pineapples, he's the best one. Got into contact and says, yeah, I've got a Region 3 Blu-ray player, and he said he'd take it off my hands. So I was just like, massive relief, because it wasn't a waste. It's nice to actually, I don't like things that become obsolete because they can't get used. I like things to be used, whether it's I use them or someone else uses them. But ultimately, I was able to find this thing at home because it'd been in that it'd been in the purgatory of a charity shop, but I was able to find it at home because Grant said he could use it and he could take it. So he took it off my hands. But ultimately, it turned into a trade, and he gave me a list of stuff he had, and I think, yeah, I'll have that. And it's a Sega Rally, which I've had my eye on. To be honest, I don't have many at all, actually. Driving games on the PS3, and this is the first one. But I knew this had a good reputation, and I had been looking at it on the 360. But I'm happy to have it on the PS3 as well. And so, I'd have that in exchange. So this was for Grant's. I sent Grant Snowpiercer on Blu-ray, and he sent me this in exchange. Yeah, I don't know Grant's. I know his Twitter handle was it Mega Deals Bodica or Mega Games Bodica at Joey Pineapples. I don't know Grant's YouTube handle, so apologies for that. But yeah, cheers, dudes. And he did say, it's funny, made me laugh. Did say, I'm not sure it's up to scratch. And I've looked at it. It's perfectly up to scratch, and I'm thinking, what sort of reputation have I built for myself? but no. But it's, or maybe I'm just chilling out in my old age. I'm chilling out. Oh, have Ireland scored? Have they? I can't tell. I don't want to look at the score, but anyway. Oh, fucking hell, Wales have. Oh, something's happened. But anyway, yeah, so, yeah. Cheers, Grant, and this was Sega Rally on the PS3. Sorry. Finally, this is finally, honest it is. Last PS2 game. This probably means I will be able to do a PS2 collection series as I did, like I do an ABC, like I did on PS1s. Which I still need to update, by the way, because I've bought loads since. That's the problem, really, because it sort of that series has become obsolete because I've bought more since, and so that's out of date. But this one, a bit of a weird game. I don't think not many people will know what it is. But it's something I heard of, and I thought it piqued my interest, and I thought that's a bit nuts. So I was interested in it, and for years I looked for it on CEX, and the price went up gradually, and it's now at about tenner. But it's still a game that if they ever get in, which they do rarely, it just sells out straight away. And I've seen maybe sort of 2 or 3 pop up on CEX in the last year or so, and they're never available to buy. But this one was on eBay, and it was when they had one of those what's the word, vouchers. You know, like you have, like they give you like money off stuff, and it was like money £5 off if you spend 20 quid. And this game, I think the seller had it on for 25 or 24.95, and they had best offer, and I offered them 20 quid, and they took it, and I took the £5 off of that. So essentially, I was getting it for 15 quid, but then the postage on top of that was £2.50. So essentially £17.50, which is, you know, I've seen the last few of these to sell were sealed, and they went for about 30 quid. It's a game called All Star Fighters. I bet the vast majority are going, what the fuck is that? But it's an Essential Games release. They're post 505 Game Street. They came after 505 Game Street. I think they're D3. They're both D3 Publishing, and this is what came after 505. And yeah, this has always been interested. I've always been interested in this. It just looks just nuts. It feels like it's more like a satire on the slightly the pomposity of and the seriousness of one-on-one fighters, because it really, I don't know whether it takes itself seriously. I don't think it does, because a lot of this is just a massive piss take. It does tend to undercut like I said, it satirises the pomposity of. But how much can you satirise something before coming what you're satirising? But essentially, it's a one-on-one fighter, and I think it's that the name in itself, All Star Fighters. It's because these are all characters from other D3 games. So many of these I've never even heard of, but I think she's from Demolition Girls. They're all most PS2 games. Demolition Girl. She's from Zombie Hunters or Onichambara. There's a guy from Yakuza Fury I've never heard of. This one's called, I think he's from a game called something like Power Warriors or Power Fighters, which apparently is a PS2 game, but I've never even seen one, and I doubt one's ever sold on eBay. But there's actually artwork available, and it looks like that. You know, like there were games sold at once, but I'll show you the manual, because it's got all the characters in it. It tells you where they're from, what sort of games. So you've got one from Zombie Hunters, Demolition Girl, Party Girls, which looks a bit like what's the word? That Saturday afternoon thing with Richard Hammond. You know, what's it called? Total Wipeout. Looks a bit like that, but with bikini girls. Another from Zombie Hunters, Street Boys, which is a really low rent, shitty scrolling beat 'em up. But at the same time, this game in itself has maybe won all those games that the characters are all from. You've got one from Zombie Attack. I thought it was Dragon Girls, but it's not. Another one from World Fighting, which is probably the shittier of the games that these characters have come from. There's one I've never heard of. I doubt it exists in the UK. It's called Your First RPG. See, look, there's all the characters there. And then you've got one from Global Defence Force, which everybody probably recognises. And then Detective, never heard of it. And then Spattermaster, which is like the little pineapple-headed dude. Well, he's not a pineapple, but there you go, like that guy in the corner, who beats people up with a chainsaw. But I just think it's nuts. Oh, it's only just a couple on the back, aren't they? Yeah. And then that's it. That guy is just a really, he's sort of like a guy in a slug costume, and he's really camp. And this guy's sort of from a game called Yakuza Fury, which is actually quite collectible, but it looks pretty shitty. That's the thing. The game itself looks shitty. Look at, I think I might have to do some gameplay of this because it's mental. I mean, that character in particular, his moves are just insane, just bonkers. And I think there's another it's just really funny. It might be taking a piss, but again, it might not, and I might be giving it too much credit. But it's one I was interested in, and I thought, yeah, I'll have that. And sort of I saw one that came into my budget, and that was it. That could be me with PS3 games. Although it might not be. I've seen a few on Metal Jesus Roxy's Hidden Gems, and it was like Choro Q, and I just thought that was a shitty racer, but apparently not. It's like a racer stroke RPG, and all these other things. The Armoured Core games, although I've never really had any interest in the Armoured Core games, but there's a nice series, and some of them are quite collectible, and now sort of something in the back of my mind's going, go on, do it. But anyway, yeah. Shit. I might upload this in 2 halves, but I probably won't because I'm lazy. But yeah, hour and 20 minutes. This will be the longest video I've ever uploaded. I could split it into bits, should I? Don't know. But anyway, if you've made it this far, fucking hell. I'm going to let you go. Cheers. And I won't waste any more of your time. Thanks for watching. And look out for more videos because I'm feeling a bit inspired. Like I said, there might be PS2 videos. I had an idea. I was going to show you the lists that I write for when I'm out and about, and I note down games that I've seen but don't know about, so I can look them up when I'm home because I haven't got a phone. I've just got a standard phone. I've got a phone that I can look things up on. So, and I've got lists stretching back years. I have, honest, and they make relatively interesting reading, well for me anyway. But I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for watching. Cheers. See you later. And if anybody's sort of subbed and I've not said thanks, then cheers. It feels like old times. Thanks for watching. Cheers.